Hey everybody, if there's one thing I can't stand people in news who use their platforms to vomit up their racism. And that's precisely what Sarah Spain is doing. The focus of my vlog right now, my live vlog, and also, not only that, the focus of my call for defamation filing against her by the Jameis Winston camp. This is why I so forcefully assert that should be done. Because this person has the nerve, all right, the absolute nerve, Sarah Spain has the absolute nerve, and I'll zoom in on this, to tweet out, imagine what it would feel like to instead see a player show this kind of anger on behalf of women getting raped, sexually coerced, groped, and violated. And she's reacting to Jameis Winston's statement regarding coming in defense of Deshaun Watson. Because people in the crowd at the Browns had the nerve to cheer because he was injured and being carried off on a cart. They were cheering because he was gone. And so this person, and I'm saying person because Sarah doesn't present herself as anything more than is not appropriate in her considerations, and I'm putting that very diplomatically. All right. And she writes this statement I just read off, and then Jack says, "Wait, Deshaun Watson raped. Didn't know he was charged with that, Sarah." Then she turns around and says, "Jameis." And trying for truth, Sarah, since Sarah calls herself a journalist, yet did zero, a vlogger to the rescue, a black vlogger. And I presented the same post that I wrote, Erica Kinsman, Jamal Roberts, fraud done James Winston, because Jamal Roberts contacted me after trying to have my YouTube video removed, which proved that he and Erica Kinsman were married during the summer of 2022. They didn't want anyone to know it, but because they don't know how the internet works, figured that putting up a website would not be found by anyone, except guess what? It was automatically made searchable in that site went. So all of the photographs out there for the world to see. All of their celebrations and photographs are out there for the world, including me. And I found it. And I made a video about it, several videos, tried to get YouTube to take it down under of all of, get this, privacy. Okay? Jamal Roberts had tried to have my video taken down under claim of privacy. I responded immediately and won. So obviously, all he could do, guess what he does? He contacts me. He calls me and says, why? And actually, I didn't. And then I had to feel around this conversation. He admitted, he said, it's true. All right. And at first I thought, is it really Jamal Robert? And I checked a number of statistics and factors, if you will, to determine that indeed it was the Jamal Robert. And Jamal asked me to take the video in response to my question, why was he trying to cover up that they got married? Okay. I said, why are you trying to cover up that you got married? When you know that the fact that you were dating her and that you had sex with her just before she had sex with Jameis, you know, excuse me, hours after she had sex with Jameis, but you know that on top of the other pieces of evidence against you and your now wife Erica to fraud. He said, take it down and do everything. Now, this is in a tweet. a series of tweets that we exchanged, isn't just voice, folks. These were in tweets at ZennyReport.com. Sarah Spain calls herself a journalist. This is one reason I don't call myself a journalist, because more often than not, I find that people call themselves journalists. They don't take legal research to shepherdize cases. They don't even know at all their way around, alone type, let alone which type of lawyer to contact in matters like this. I can go on and on and on. So what does Sarah get on and do? But basically, and if you're talking about the Uber driver, ooh, let's see, 2 years for that person to come up, then activated the same lawyer that was involved in the Kinsman case, John Thune. Oh, and then let's see, Jameis was put in the car by a business manager that was noted to take advantage of athletes, including Jameis, left him there inebriated by himself, and told the Uber driver that Uber driver she had famous NFL athlete in Arizona. You have no idea who you're dealing with, and this is in the middle of the night, after midnight. Okay? Rather than going with Jameis, making sure he got to his place in where one fell swoop, and not leaving him to chance in a he said she said situation with someone that this business person doesn't even know. That was the height of irresponsibility. Really, that person themselves should be hung up by their Buster Browns in jail. Hung up by their Buster Browns is a term. It's not really meaning anything real. But the whole point is it goes back to for kids that you got out of hand and were not properly acting. All right. So my point is that Sarah Spain didn't do any work at all. I have passed this information to a number of people who are so-called journalists who work for named organizations, and they've done nothing with nothing, including some who are black. It is a crime to allow people like Jameis Winston, black men, to be tarred and feathered by a racist society that would prefer to see them in a guise, like Sarah Spain prefer to see them in a guise of the big bad black guy that wants the women who and all that stuff. Now, there's nothing wrong with wanting women, okay, which is the other part here. We're talking about a woman, Sarah, who's white, who has no evidence, shows no evidence of any type of racial sensitivity at all. Yet she wants other people to be aware of actions done to women. And guess what? We are. Like, for example, I'll bet you Sarah never started her own company where the majority of her employees were female, including the hiring manager and the EVP. I did. Out of the 9, there were 8, and there was me. Sports business simulations. What did you do, Sarah? Nothing. Okay? Nothing. You and Christine Brennan, who I at one point considered a friend, but the reason why I stopped is because she's not racially sensitive. There is no excuse in these United States for behavior like the type that these two exhibit. And to have a platform and do it and not expect any pushback from anyone at all is the height of ridiculousness. But it is wrong to treat Jameis Winston in a way that's classically reserved by white media people and those in law enforcement who have to believe that somebody black did something wrong. How else to explain all of these wrongful incarcerations that are done seemingly, and every time you see on television, it's only someone black? Well, that should tell you something. Maybe it's because the vast universe of people who are wrongfully convicted are black by percentage. Why is that? because of a society that wants to see black folks, and particularly black men and women, in a number of cases, as that. Now, Sarah Spain has revealed herself to be one of those people. She has no business being in media. Go off and contaminate somebody else's communications silo with your ridiculous points of view. If you have any shred of decency, again, Miss Spain, I say this to you, Miss Spain, again. If you had any of decency, you'll apologize to Jameis Winston, and you'll apologize to Deshaun, because in both cases, no crime was committed. In Deshaun's case, all 24 cases regarding the grand jury, went to the grand jury, and all were declared not eligible to rise to the level of crimes. There's a good reason for that. You want to know why? Because 95% of them were fake. And of the ones that remained, there's clear evidence that they were trying to blackmail and Deshaun Watson. Why? Because he dared say that he wanted a black coach for the Texans when they were on a coaching search, and if that didn't happen, he was going to walk. And he had just been the collector of a $127 million contract. So the Texans saw their money and said, oh, no, 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 we can't have this. We've got to do something. And they did. They made up a fake narrative, and they hired a class action lawsuit expert to do it in Tony Busby. That's what they did. All right? Okay? All right? So this is absolute, this nonsense, this ridiculousness, this whatever this is going on, that where people feel like they uh, have to do this. And I just think I just turned on my echo cancellation. Hope it works. Echo cancellation, but I feel like they have to do this. People who feel like they have to do this must stop. How would you feel? Ask you this: feel if you were in a situation where you were accused of doing something that you didn't do? How would you feel, Sarah Spain, if you were in that situation where someone accused you of something you didn't do? How would you feel if you turned around and all the reports about you were backing this fake news about you? What would you do? If your answer is you wouldn't feel good and you would start to fight it back against them, then let me ask you, why do you feel it's okay to do that to Jameis Winston? Is it some kind of replacement for maybe wanting to yell the N word about him or something like that? Because that's the kind of person you come off as to those who've experienced problems with racism in society today, which is much more nuanced and much more of the objective of trying to put someone black down, essentially devalue human capital, and make less one to invest undesirable. All right? Do you have a problem with black? You have an issue? Why don't you explain to us what your issue is, since you so cavalierly focus? How you think, who you are, what measure of evil actions have you done to people because they're black and male, or white, or black and female? Do I have to look at the WNBA to find something like what Christine Brennan was doing? Probably not. She was on your program. I didn't hear it. Did you come to her defense? Okay. So you came to Christine's defense. And both of you would seem to have a way of coloring black men and women. But then you get mad at Jameis for coming to Deshaun Watson's defense. The things that make you go, The things that make you go, Okay? What you did, Sarah, was wrong. I can't say that enough. What you did was wrong. You owe Jameis Winston an apology. You also owe Deshaun Watson an apology. You don't know anything about those cases at all. At all. Which you know is just like out there who involved and that. To remove a race and feather black athletes because they have been fairly tagged with names that don't apply to them. It is your job to uphold the rules of and proper reporting from your position as a person who calls themselves a journalist. Note that. Get it right before you open your make sure you get it right tweet before you blog. Get it right. Get on social media. Make sure you get it right. An opinion, because what you say carries weight with some people who have no time to do research, who are used to listening and who are accustomed to basically throwing up whatever a person like you might say, no matter how stupid, racist, and defamatory it may be. And in Jameis' case, that's precisely what you did. You put out something that was stupid, racist, and defamatory. And you did it without thought. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. Better yet, why don't you just apologize? That would be the best thing to do. All right, I'm done. Subscribe to Zenny62. This is not the last time I'm done with this. I am sick and tired of this crap. And if you want to find out more about my report about Jameis Winston, all you have to do is go to ZennyReport.com here and type Erica Kinsman and then press this headline. Erica Kinsman and Jamal Roberts, fraud done to Jameis Winston. And you can read the truth that people don't want you to know, which you need to know. That tells you precisely where we are really in this country. These two successfully extorted $950,000 from Florida State under the argument that Erica Kinsman was harmed, if you will, by Jameis Winston, and when in point of fact, nothing happened. When in point of fact, she was drunk. When in point of fact, she was the aggressor. When in point of fact, she was a cleat trader. No one wants to talk about anything like that. I would prefer to have the narrative that, she was the innocent flower, including her. Why? She didn't want anyone to know that she had had sex with two black men within the space of 8 hours. And yet she did. She didn't want her parents to know. Why? She comes from a Caribbean family. Okay? Make it okay. It was wrong to do it. And it was wrong to stop it and say, hey, we'll write you this enormous sum of money as opposed to going to court because they would have won in court. We have to get to this point where people stop using dog whistle names and tags others, stopping appropriate conversation. I argue that people who are racist look for these tags to use rather than saying what they really want to say that's racist about someone like Jameis Winston or Deshaun Watson. Or now they think it's okay to boo. When in point of fact, this person did nothing wrong. Okay? All right? Stop this ridiculous behavior right now. Sarah, stop it right now. That's all I ask. In the name of decency, in the name of all that is human, in the name of all that is right, you stop now.